We will get to 1,000. And once again, it always dips you out of the scene at the beginning. I don't know why it's doing that recently.
I think you do that on purpose.
I just get out of there.
Yeah,
Hello and welcome to another episode of different actually things that we're doing for the Command podcast. It's this time we're having a look at some data sheets that are in the Necron book. And we're just seeing how we would maybe improve them or change the rules a bit so they become a slightly playable unit.
yeah, yeah.
So we've got a selection of how many have we got? 2, 4, 6,
7.
8, 10, 12. We've got quite a few going on because we've got some honourable mentions and some other bits.
Yeah.
And this is all to be taken in fun strides and not to be commenting going, this will be broken. Well, maybe it would be broken, but we're just
No,
spitballing as not rule writers.
it'll be good. It's just getting units that are not played in any way to actually get on the tabletop and what it might take to make them good.
And
But
as a disclaimer,
yeah,
some of the honourable mentions are played.
yes, they are.
And
But
they are good, and we put them in S tier. But we just thought that maybe if it had this rule, it'd be cool because it fits the theme.
yeah, exactly. So, I think should we go straight into it,
Yeah.
or
So where are we going to start?
so
Right.
honourable mentions?
And
Obviously,
let me just do
we
this
have
screen share thing.
the data sheets. So the first one we'll talk about will be the Transcendent Catan, which I think at this point doesn't actually get played at all, unless it's part of like a 4 Catan spam list. So it could even go into the normal one, but
Cool.
Transcendent Catan is it was the OG in Index when it had the 4 Feel No Pain, and then obviously when the Codex came out, it gained a 5 up, but lost its 4 up, which is fine. It went down in points as well, but one of the later data slates meant that you couldn't advance an action. And one
I
of the
think it was
best,
the introduction of Pariah. It was like from Leviathan to Pariah.
yes, and one of the best things about having the Transcendent Catan was turn 1 in your movement phase, I could go on to and cleanse and not have to worry that I've got this unit that might die because, they're really going to have to take out a lot of their army to do it. So it's a safe option to cleanse. So just being able to teleport and do actions, but still not being able to charge would just
So
make it.
basically, instead of making a normal move, you can teleport, and then if you teleport if you use that ability, the transdimensional
Transcendent.
displacement, flicking it, that's a tongue twister. If you use that, then you can't make a charge that turn. So
Yeah,
it's like it still doesn't make it broken where you can just 9-inch charge, whatever. But it just lets you get around that caveat of
yeah.
not being able to do any actions.
Alternatively, they could make the transdimensional displacement like a once per battle ability, a bit like the Veil of Darkness, but you do it in your own turn, and then you can still charge after it because it's still a 9-inch charge. Even with this reroll, he's still 50-50 at best, but slightly worse than 50, but it's basically 50%, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's worth thinking about.
Yeah.
What's the next one we're going to go on to?
Flayed ones. They're the perennial S tier unit that we like and we put in literally every single
This
army that we play.
this shit slaps.
It does, but it just for me it doesn't quite do enough. In ninth edition, it made the leadership of your opponent's units within 3 inches -2, which was really strong. So I think that it should have something similar to that. These are literally little bugs with massive claws and wearing parts of their previous foes, so they should be quite scary. So I think that start of the fight phase, you're talking about maybe a battle shock, even battleship, a battle shock test, or reducing their leadership if they,
I failed my battle shark.
you know, um, just something that because they're quite scary. As just infantry only, they in engagement major infantry, and if they're battle shocked, then they're -1 to be hit or something. And if their points have to go 5 or 10 points as a result, then that's okay.
Yeah, I think when this bit ability goes off, it fucking goes off. But just having something where you could like a heroic and force a battle shock, or charge something, force a battle shock, and swing primary or whatever. It's kind of cool.
But I mean, the ability itself is a little underwhelming because most of the time, if you've got like a 5-man Marine squad that's now down to 2, well, the flayed ones are probably going to kill it anyway.
Yeah,
And it's only really good if you end up with like a 1 wound Dread Knight or Dreadnought. You're still wounding on 6s, but you just get enough through. But yeah, I think that the rule is. I mean, it works. They're still good. It's still a good unit. I'll still take them, but I think it could
yeah.
be a
We
little
just
bit
take them
more.
because they're a cheap infiltrator, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And flayed ones do kill flayed ones. They
They
do. They
do.
are very good at killing each other.
They are very good.
What's the next honourable
Um,
mention?
Next one I mentioned is Ophidian Destroyers, our favorite destroyer, right?
That's the one I didn't click. Let's go.
Um, this one's just a small one. It's just we think they should just be able to stay in reserves if you pick them up rather than have to come down the next turn. And that means they can be a viable rapid ingress threat. And then because sometimes you don't want to bring them down, but then your opponent might make a mistake and you can capitalize. So just being able to do that would make a difference, I
Next one.
think. Seraz.
Right.
I think this one's going to be very polarizing. This was
Yeah,
100% my idea,
yeah.
but I think that his aura should be changed so that it affects all of our infantry and not just battle line.
Which is kind of wild. I think
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
extremely
I
strong.
would love it if it was everything.
Imagine
Uh,
it. Yeah, because it'd be himself, and he'd be a 2-up save with AMC.
I mean, welcome to Ultramarines, right? Welcome to
Yeah,
Gilliman.
they have to pay a CP, and it's once per
They've got
activation.
Gilliman. They can do it twice every turn,
No, they can only
twice
do.
every round.
Well, they can do it like once. Yeah, they can do it in each phase once.
They can do it for
But
free twice per battle round. Once
yeah,
in
yeah,
once in the shooting phase, once in
the
their
combat.
fire phase.
Yeah,
So it would be nice. Obviously, his points would have to increase, and it would still only start as a 3-inch aura, which is still very small. And then as the game goes on, it would actually increase, which would make
tell you
it
what,
more.
I always forget to increase his aura.
Me too.
I just have. It's just because he's always going to stand near something three
Yeah,
inches away to get blown up. So I just
but
always keep it at 3.
it's a really, really strong ability. But our battle line is not really, really good, and there's only, you know, I would say 10%, 15% of lists probably taking battle line at
I'm
this
just
point.
thinking all the stuff it would buff. +1 AP Scorpeths.
Yeah,
AP.
but no, but he then becomes incredibly good, and his points go up to
Yeah, and he'd
225.
be, he'd be good in a lot of different armies. You wouldn't just need to take.
You wouldn't just pair it
You'd
away.
see him in nearly every list. I think. I think he's ridiculous at the moment. So in Awakened,
In Awakened, yes, but in other detachments, he's not worth 175
yeah.
points. He's worth 175 when he gets back up, but when he just dies, when he dies,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
you're
for
not
sure.
taking. Sometimes you'll take Immortals, but then AP1, there's still cover and armor contempt. So yeah, but these are honorable mentions, so we can't spend all day on it. I just think that would be a cool ability to actually be a good build around unit in our army, as well as the Silent King as an alternative to him
I
potentially.
agree.
Um, anyway,
What's the
so
next one?
you wanted to talk about death marks?
Oh yeah. So I was just having to think then while we were talking. So obviously their ability now has been their ability since I think
Isn't
ninth
it?
at least, and being able to shoot stuff back. But I initially thought that we could change it to them being able to be pulled back up potentially instead of Ophidians, or as well as because that's what they do in the law, like they go back into hyperspace. But do you remember what we were just discussing, where the hex mark used to be able to drop in
Yeah,
and shoot something? Maybe death marks could do the same kind of thing.
but they have 5 attacks hitting on threes, so
Yeah, but it's just like a rapid. It's just like a rapid ingress. It's kind of like they could free rapid ingress, or it's a rapid ingress type
yeah,
thing.
I'm
And then
gonna.
obviously they can precision, and they might get re rolls against the thing that they drop in to
Mm,
shoot, and it's good into some targets.
yeah,
So yeah,
that'd
it was
be
just a
cool.
thought, but obviously
Maybe,
it's just an honourable mention. So I just feel like there, if anybody has any ideas in the comments, then for any of this stuff, by the way, then feel free to
yeah,
post it because it's kind of cool just to think about.
maybe give them an extra attack as well to make it actually scary.
Yeah, one attack each. Probably
Hitting on
fine.
threes is not fun. Anyway, so the last honorable mention is my beloved Hexmark Destroyer. Now,
Yes.
this guy is like the gunslinger. He's meant to be a multi-threat eliminator. If you look at his, and with inescapable death, like the names of his abilities are really cool, and he is still really strong. But I think that his ability should be changed slightly so that he can also snipe out specific models from units instead of letting the defending player choose which models die, because you've got a 10 unit of scions. Well, there's kind of 5 models there that are just basically pure chaff. So his ability to kind of snipe them on Overwatch doesn't matter because you're just killing the trash models. You're not killing the ones with the good weapons. So being able to snipe out the guy with the demo charge, the guy with the medi pit, the guy with the the banner to give them extra OC, or the guy with the plasma gun, those kind of models, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'd be kind of cool. Definitely unique as well.
And it's unique, and it's one thing that's not in anywhere else. And then it makes the opponent think about where they're going to place their models. Do they want them to be seen by
But
this guy?
obviously, there should be a caveat of you can only precision what you can see, like normal. But I think that
Absolutely,
was
yeah.
without saying.
And it's not even precision, so it's not like he can target the character. It's just he picks up specific models within that unit, because some units, they just have a lot of trash with them, and then like 3 or 4 particularly good ones.
Hmm.
So having a unit in our army that would be able to deal with that is quite cool. So yeah.
Right, what's off? So they're the honourable mentions. Just some quick ones. But these ones now we're going to talk in a bit more depth about them,
Is
and then probably talk about why their ability isn't very good at the moment as well.
okay.
So which one first?
Which one do you want to do first? Should we just do the command, the annihilation badge first?
Yeah,
So
let's do that.
yeah, so these are models that because obviously we go through lists quite a lot every week. We look at winning lists, and these are units and models that we don't see particularly in any of them. They might pop up now and then. Someone tries them and just like,
Yeah.
well, but as a general rule, they just don't get played, and they just sit on the shelf.
So, for example, the Annihilation Barge has been in a couple of Star Shatter lists, but
Mm.
I feel like it's mainly just because it's a cheap hull that has a 4
Yeah,
up invuln. And
no,
I only just found out today it has a 4 up invuln. I thought it had a 5 up invuln. I
no.
played it in get test games with a 5 up invuln the whole time. And I was like,
Read your
no
data
wonder this is
sheet.
terrible.
Read your data sheet, Matt.
I know.
So
Why would I read the datasheet with this kind of rule?
So I think the problem with the annihilation barge is it doesn't really do anything. Its shooting is very lackluster for the points that we get. And okay, its whole defensive profile is decent. It's not overwhelmingly amazing. For 5 points more, you're upgrading yourself to a Triarch Stalker. So it's just kind of like a bit meh, and that's
For
probably why it
five
doesn't see
points, you
play.
get 3 wounds
And yeah,
and a scout and
and
a
a scout
melter
and a
with
melter
a flamer.
and some melee. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not amazing melee; it's still flat
it's
3 damage
some.
for some reason there.
And
So,
it's extra OC.
but I mean, it does have a cool living lightning ability, which, if we're being honest, was probably better in ninth edition, right?
I can't remember what it did in ninth edition.
Um, I mean, it was a heavy support vehicle in ninth, so you didn't see a lot of them because there was always kind of better models and units to take in that slot when you were playing your um, detachment. I can't remember what it was, but um, I mean, it had quantum
Mefrit.
shielding, so it was always you couldn't wound it on 1 to 3s. Um, and yeah, it didn't have it. It was a stratagem, and I can't remember what the stratagem was, so we'll
I
just
think the
forget.
stratagem was like if you hit something with Tesla, then everything within 6 inches of it takes like a mortal wound on a 4 up or something.
Mhm.
It was very similar because
Yeah,
obviously from the change from ninth edition to 10th, they put a lot of the because there was a million stratagems for any
yeah,
army. There was so many stratagems that affected only one unit in your book. So they basically changed all of the stratagems and put them into, and then gave each date sheet an ability.
mm,
Um, and this one just, yeah, as Andy said, the shooting isn't very good. The, it's all just not amazing. It's just 3 shots. You're probably going to take the Gauss cannon. It's
yeah,
3 shots hitting on freeze. Like strength 5. It's just not amazing anti tank really or anti anything.
mm,
And then the twin Tesla that goes on top is AP0. So it's just like a thing. It's just a thing, and then it shoots something, and then a quarter of the time, it does 1 to 3 mortal wounds, and it's within
No,
3 inches as
a,
well. So it's only
third
stuff
of
that's
the time.
really.
A
Yeah,
third.
sorry, a
So
third of the time. Yeah.
the stratagem back in ninth was 1 CP. When you have targeted with a Tesla weapon, after making the attacks, roll a d6 for each unit within 6, and on 4 up it takes 1 mortal. So it didn't do a lot of damage, but when you had, when you had other things that also did mortal wounds at range, like the Tesseract Vault and the Catans, it just kind of stacked up. So what do you think we need to do to improve this and actually make it playable? Like for me, it's one little change, but what do you think?
I think just making the. I think we actually said the same thing when we were discussing it. That in the notes that it should probably just do it on a 4 up or a 3 up, just a bit
Yeah,
easier.
yeah.
Or like do it on a 5 up, but have it within 6 inches, or do it on a 4 up within 3 inches, and so
I
on.
mean, I think a 3 up within 3 is fine because if you're taking 3 of them, that's 315 points. That's a lot of actual investment in this ability because the shooting isn't going to do a huge amount.
Hmm.
So then you're looking at it for mortal wounds, and it's really good against armies that just want to kind of bulk out together and stage in like little L's. And if you can find some sight lines, then you can do some damage against little things that are harder to kill. So doing it on a 3 up within 3, I think
This ability wouldn't stack either, would it?
it would.
No, because it says the unit being rolled for is struck by arcing energies, and so that's a named.
But it's not an
That's
aura.
no,
So
but it's not. No, but it's still a named ability. Same for like the slow abilities. You count as being pinned, so you lose 2 movement. So like this says that you're struck by arcing energies. That's how I would read it. This unit is being struck by arcing energies. So that's like because it's named, and there's like a caveat, isn't there, where like named abilities within rules can't be used more than once. I think that's correct.
maybe you might be right on that.
Yeah.
It, it's
So
it's never come up because no
it's,
one's ever
yeah,
taken.
no who's using three, especially on the same thing.
And of course, it never goes off because it's on a 5 up. But
Yeah. So yeah, mate. Yeah, it's just not a good ability because it's like you can use it once, even if you shoot 3 things in one place. That's how I interpret it because it literally has a name for what's happening.
um,
Same for like stuff like that slows you down. It'd be like this unit is pinned,
okay, but you see, the
pinned,
thing is,
pinned units.
when you actually read it, it says each unit is struck by arcing energies, and then after that, each unit struck it suffers D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah,
So the fact that they've already been struck doesn't matter because any unit that has been struck by arcing energies then suffers the mortal wounds. So I don't know. It's one of them where if it ever became playable, we
yeah.
would have to probably receive some kind of errata get
Hmm.
the wording a little more clear. But I mean,
Classic.
it's a simple change. It makes the ability actually the primary reason for taking this model rather than whatever else you could think of. Just being a hull with a 4 pinball, I guess, is
Yeah.
probably the main one.
Or it could also have -1 to be wounded as well, just like the command barge, because they're literally the same chassis.
The quantum shielding, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that was on quite a few. Um, quite a
Well, at least
few.
like in this edition, that one's had it carried over, so I feel like they should both have it. Like, there's no difference.
Yeah.
They're both the same thing. It would just make it. I mean, yeah, you'd probably have to increase the points, right? But it would make it a bit more durable, considering it's only got 9 wounds. 3 exocrine shots just fucking kill this thing, and it's only.
Mm.
I know it's only
5 point.
105 points, but it still just dies pretty damn quick.
Just exocrine fodder in it. So
It's just any. It's just it's 5 2 damage, 5 cannon shots will kill it. Like
okay,
it's not tough.
so that's probably the easiest way of fixing it.
Yeah, and I
Quantum
think that's the easiest one to
but,
change.
I mean, also giving it like assault on the Tesla would be nice, so it could advance and shoot. Just give it
Yeah,
a bit more ability. But again, like it's AP0. You got 6 shots. It's not scary. It's not going to wipe out a 5-man
Hmm.
squad of Marines, but it might kill one or two. But then, how many units of those can you have where it just kills one or two? So
Yeah.
the mortal wounds would be nice because then you run 3, and then all of a sudden they become actually a bit scary, and then your opponent has to change how they play, maybe. So cool.
Hmm. Right, which one next?
Next, shall we do the Convergence of Dominion?
Yeah, that's fine.
So this is obviously a fortification, and Games Workshop doesn't want fortifications to be particularly good, but we still see it now and then, and it would be nice if it was playable without being busted. So it's got the usual rules where if it gives you cover. In this case, we get a 6 feel no pain for infantry within 6 inches, right?
Yeah. So it gives a feel no pain and cover.
Yeah. So, but only if you can't see the full model because of it, and that means you
Yeah,
have to.
it's just like a ruin. It's like any ruin.
So, what would you do to make this a little bit more of a consideration when it comes to list building?
So my idea was potentially you scrap the feel no pain
Mm.
or the cover. I think you probably scrap the cover,
Uh,
and then it gives like an aura of +1 save to stuff near it. Because then it's like if it has kind of a shield effect, then you're shielding the units. Maybe just infantry, like just gives +1 save. It will just help your durability a bit more. Um, and it is obviously a hard thing and then obviously ninth edition rule was really good where it can be picked up
with the
and
chronomancer,
yeah, just like any cryptech change it to if they're within X distance. You can redeploy it. You can like pick it up at the end of your turn and then bring it back down, and so it can like move around still. Because just like leaving it, deploying it in in your home, and then just leaving it there is it pretty feels bad.
yeah, especially when it can't move, and then it also has the rule, or it had a rule. I don't know if it does now, where if the enemy charges it, like then you just can't shoot them. I think it's got a rule now where you can actually charge them if they're in combat with it. Sorry, shoot them if they're in combat with it. But back in ninth, that was definitely a downside where they could just charge it and then use it as a slingshot to get across the board and just not be shot because it can't ever fall back.
It's got a 3 damage gun.
It does, and it's a much better gun than it had in ninth, but it's still pretty bad.
Hmm.
My idea, and this is quite a strong one, is if it had a 12-inch no deep strike aura like the infiltrators, and you extended the feel no pain aura to 12 inches as well, so that way
And we
you
get to reanimate an extra D3 within 12, and
could. Let's not go stupid now, because I mean, it's still 60 points of nothing.
give it
Then,
loan off as well. Why not?
uh, make it Canoptech so you could use it and give it, load up into strat maybe,
It can't be shot within 12, and
but
can't deep strike within 12.
like it's meant to be a powerful piece of equipment, right? So 12-inch no deep strike would actually, because we don't have that anywhere in our codex, um, and if some armies have it, I think most armies should have access to it somewhere. And this is like you're paying a lot of points just for that one ability. In some games, it's going to do absolutely nothing. I mean, it already does absolutely nothing, but in some games, it's going to do more of absolutely nothing because it does. And then having the 12-inch aura means that you're not hamstrung into stringing back to it, because we've all seen the games where the warriors just string out from the Convergence, the Ghost Arc, and Serraz, and the Reanimator. It's all in the same little area.
Hmm.
So doing that means that games don't just ascend to that kind of farce, and you can actually move around a little bit and still be within the aura. Because it's only a 6 will feel no pain, and some infantry already have that in terms of like if you take a technomancer with any of them, like Wraiths, for example.
Yeah, I
What do you,
agree.
what do you think? Do you think 12-inch deep no deep strike is too strong?
Um,
Because
I
like what
think
it,
it's all right because it's a small. like zone, and then if you're getting two or three, they have to be placed within 12 inches of each other still.
Hmm.
So it's like
Well, they do.
you're only screening your home, but then it's like 180 points, and
If
you're
you
just screening your home.
if you take three as a squad, you have to deploy them within 12. But if you take three individuals, you don't.
Oh, can you take? Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Because they
course.
used to be just a squad of three. Now you can take
Imagine you could teleport them, and they were no deep strike within 12, and you took nine. You just like put them all. You just started moving them slowly and
yeah.
slowly up the board.
They don't have deep strike themselves though. So you're talking board edge unless you're talking about
Like
hypercrit where you can use
I
them
get,
as
yeah,
that.
but I mean that if that ability was that you just pick them up and then they can be placed anywhere 9 inches away, like
Yeah. I
it's like a
mean,
pseudo veil. That would be crazy.
you can do that. You can do that in Vanguard Marines with the infiltrators. You just pick them up and put them down, and then all of a sudden, their omni scrambler ability is just in the middle of the battlefield, and you're like, well, shit.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
it's
feel like it would be strong, but and it would obviously protect your home well. But it is a zero OC
yeah,
vehicle, so
they can't move.
you'd have to have something else there, so it equals about the same as infiltrators, but it can't move.
So if we were to have this no deep strike ability, what other unit would you actually champion to put it on?
No deep strike.
Yeah, because I
I
can't
don't
really
know.
think of any unit that would.
No, nothing that fits it.
Exactly. So why not stick it on this, and then Games Workshop can sell some useless terrain?
Yeah, like, let's get that Convergence of the Dominion off the shelves.
Hell yeah! I mean, I would play at least one in every army.
I'm going to choose our next one if we're ready,
Yeah,
because I've
go
just
for
had
it.
a brainwave.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Okay.
It's going to be the Psychomancer. Now,
Ah, the good old.
this is arguably like the one that everybody's talking about of what they would change first. If there's a discussion of what I would change for Necrons, it's this fucking unit.
Yeah,
Everyone just goes to Psychomancer immediately, and its ability now is the abilities are really good. They are actually good. I really like them, but we need him to be lone up. Like we need a lone up fella that can just survive, like a Neurolictor. Neurolictors exist, and they are way tougher than this.
yeah.
This should still be a 4 up safe dude with 4 wounds,
With
but he
four
would
with
be a lone up.
yeah.
He would be a lone up for increases points,
No,
mate. You
no,
put
his
yeah,
points
no,
are
I
cheap
feel like
enough.
his points should increase for
Why?
sure because that would be a ridiculously cheap lone
Yeah,
up.
but he's compared to the site, the one you were just talking about from Tyranids, the Neurolictor. How much cheaper is
Neurolictor.
he?
I don't know how much that costs, but
He's considerably cheaper, but he's also considerably weedier.
I think like 75
Five.
points
Yeah.
is good for this. But he's
No.
55 at the moment. That would be way too cheap.
No, if he was going to be 75 points, he'd need to be four pivotal as well, or something crazy. Something that
But this ability is
and he gets back up when he
it's still a
dies.
lone up. It's still a lone up. A lone up is a strong ability.
It is,
The
but
cheapest lone up in the game is 60 points, and that is a 3 wound, fucking 5 up save Gene Stealer cult model. I
yes,
think it's 50 points.
but you got to remember his abilities are well. The Nightmare Shroud Aura wants you to be within six, and when any time you get within six of a load up, they pretty much dead, right?
Yeah, but you can just sit behind a wall. I think but
Yeah,
that's just like that's just the sit behind a wall, kind of like a vect, and that's what I was thinking about. I was like, what if we give him a vect? What if he had a vect aura? How good would that be? Imagine if he was like the Calidus, can't go back up, but like he just had a vect lone up force battle shot. That would be
and deep
crazy.
strike.
That would be like
He'd
80
he'd
points,
need deep
90
strike,
points,
right?
100 points.
He would need deep strike as well.
I didn't need. No, I don't think
You
so.
absolutely need deep strike.
You don't need, mate. He would be ridiculously. He'd be like 100 points.
I would take him with a Vex, but the other thing you could think about is he needs to give his squad something as well. You need to give him a reason to take him over the other Cryptex.
Just not
Um,
by himself.
something like +1 to hit or +1 to wound if they're battle shocked, kind of thing. Um,
Yeah, plus one to
let him
wound would be
join Flayed
nice.
Ones because it's a similar kind of ability. They both move 5 as well. They're both like I mean, he is. Well, in terms of output, he's just laughably bad. He's got one attack, right, with his shooting and one
Yeah, let's have a
attack in
look.
melee.
Hey, it's -3, 3
But
damage.
it hits on a 4, and it's one attack,
Hits
right?
on 3s and awakened, guys.
Yeah, and the melee weapon, one attack.
Hits on 3s and awakened.
Why are our characters
It could go to
so bad?
strength 7 AP4. That's so funny.
Why why are our characters so bad when it comes to actually killing things?
Because he's a book boy. He's just like he's just a dude. He's a psychologist. That man was looking at people on their stone armchair back on.
I also think then if you're going to give him loan up, then you're going to give him a reactive move as well,
Fucking hell, lad.
like the combi lieutenant.
Anything
Right?
else?
I mean, look at the
It's
combi
just like
lieutenant.
whoosh.
The combi lieutenant's like what,
Yeah.
75 points?
Can we
He's
give
got loan up, reactive
Vex
move,
reactive
reroll
move?
ones on the
Gets
next
back
move.
up, loan up.
Yeah, but
So he's gonna have.
that's
I
just
think for
how bad he
55
is.
points, for 55 points, he should have all the abilities he's got now. Loan up, deep strike, Vect, gets back up.
Reactive.
Fucking reactive move, 4 up, feel no pain, 3 up, invulnerable. Why not else?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Let's make
I,
this
I
guy
think
the most broken shit.
so. Your combi lieutenant is 75 points. He's got a reactive move. He buffs your army on one particular objective with the real ones to wound.
That's
You
the
know,
most forgotten rule in 40k.
yeah, I know. And he can also contain a vet in whichever detachment it is that lets him. Is it?
It's the uppy downy one,
Yeah,
the
Vanguard.
Vanguard.
So he can have a Vect as well. So they can have 3 Vects on the battlefield if you're taking him,
A
Ventress,
Calidus and
and Paladin
Ventress.
Assassin. And we don't have it in a detachment. So I like the Vect
Yeah,
idea as
we
well
used to have Vect guys.
on Zandrek, right?
Yeah, fucking. Why did you remove our only fights first and our only Vect?
Well, yeah, fights first, and yeah,
You fucking dickheads. It's not like I was ever going to take it, but you removed that option.
no, I think you would take it now if we
Oh,
had them.
imagine in Phalanx or something. Like you just got big fights first brick that also had all those Vex as well. Vex
Yeah,
fights first brick, flipping it.
and a feeling of pain for the characters, and it could get lethal sustained or dev wounds depending on what
Yeah.
dice you roll. It was always the wrong one.
Fuck you, GW.
Yeah. Okay. So we agreed that the Psychomancer needs loan up, deep strike, and a Vect, and then he'll be playable, and 60 points because he still suffers 4 wounds.
Not
Four
60. No, I
60,
can't.
65.
80. Let's be
Too much.
realistic. 80 is
75.
not too much.
And
The hex mark
75.
is 75.
Then he yeah, but the hex mark is 5 points too expensive as well. I don't know
No,
why
but
he
a
went up.
Vect is wild.
Um,
Like loan up and a Vect is. Imagine them as
yeah,
enhancements.
but how much is Cipher?
Cypher's,
Like
I don't know.
95 points, right? And he does a
Hell,
lot more.
yeah, he's really good.
Exactly. So
Arguably undercosted.
yes, true.
So he needs to go
But
up.
I would love to play Hypercrypt or Canoptech Court with Psychomancers running around with loan up, dishing out Battle Shock. But I mean, it doesn't really. The Battle Shock doesn't really work synergize with
It
anything.
is very good.
It is good, but it doesn't synergize with any of our rules. Whereas you look at like the Neurolictor, that synergizes with their rules as well.
Yeah. Well, that's why you could have stuff like if flayed ones could do if you're in engagement range, then and something's battle shots,
Yeah.
then your army gets +1 to wound. I don't know, something
Okay.
weird, or within a certain distance. But you get the idea. They
Yeah.
would synergize off each other then, but
Yeah.
it is like without going absolutely wild. I feel like if you just gave him loan up, loan up and deep strike would be like the bare bones of what I think that would make that unit playable. And then Vector's just a funny afterthought.
It would
Like
be
it's not
nice
like
though. It
it
would
would
be
be
nice.
ridiculous. Like,
Give us
but
access to all of those things. We're meant to be
yeah.
technologically gifted as a
Yeah, we're
as,
meant to
as
be the fucking OGs, and we can't even vect.
yeah. Okay,
We
so
can't even stay in reserves.
moving on.
Action.
Moving on. Which one do you want to do next?
Uh, let's
Night Side?
do the Night Scythe. Yeah.
Okay. So
What does the Night Scythe do, Andy?
The Night Scythe is a transport. It's our best transport, ironically, because it can actually carry an infantry unit,
Yes, one of two.
regardless of size. Yes, but the Ghost Ark never really actually carried anything other than one actual infantry character, and
Hmm.
you only do that to stop it from blowing up at the start. So this guy obviously can deep strike turn one, which is really nice. He can drop out some units that shoot, and then at the end of the fight phase, they can get back in it if they're not in engagement range. So it can kind of keep units safe in that regard, but then it's just toughness 9 with 12 wounds and a 3 up save, so it doesn't really keep them safe from much because it's an aircraft, so it can just be seen and killed by literally anything. So if we were going to make it better, I think it either has to be better defensively or offensively. So if it was going to be defensively, it would be like give it an invul, give it stealth, give it quantum shielding, and then that'd probably do it, right? And the quantum shielding is the -1 to wound if the strength is higher than the toughness.
Yeah, definitely
Um,
stealth. I think it definitely needs stealth. I mean, I think that anything that can't go into hover mode should be like should have stealth built in, because something that can go into hover mode theoretically can't go as fast as something that can't hover. I don't know. Maybe that doesn't work like that, but
no,
I feel like at least if it's not in hover, it should get +1. It should be -1 to be here. Like you, like it just should say in the rules.
yeah,
If you are not a hover, if you're an aircraft, you have -1 to be hit, because they're made out of paper.
mm,
Like all I mean, I understand that they want less aircraft in the game. That's why they make them so expensive, and they keep nerfing the Void Raven bomber. Even nobody's playing it except one man, and
and
they
the
just
Storm
keep
Raven,
nerfing it.
the
And
Storm
the Storm
Raven
Raven,
with the flat feet,
exactly.
the Green Knight shots.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Grey
I,
Knight's getting
I, mean,
fucking
I
nerfed.
think the difference between this aircraft and them is this aircraft isn't a shooting platform like they all are. This is a utility transport platform where we want to use it
Yeah,
for
this
cube
is.
trips. And
I
yes, it
think
has a gun, but it's not threatening.
this unit has the capabilities of being really strong as it is. But what I had a thought of, but I don't know if it would be any good, is that if you could charge after it moves,
So assault
but
ramp,
that would be
basically.
crazy good. That would be
Assault
just,
ramp would be
yeah,
very strong because
it would be really good.
the problem with the Land Raider is it's big and chunky and doesn't go very far. This thing goes all right wherever I want. You rapid ingress it so you know it's going to land,
Mm,
and then you get out and you fight, and then you get back in afterwards. So it would
yeah,
make it
it's
really
so
strong
good.
because it's still really weak. So then they just shoot it, and then the unit gets out. It's already battle shocked, and then they just kill it. Like okay, if you're getting Scorpio destroyers out, you kill something really nice, but then they just die because they don't have any defensive ability either. Where it would get really good is in Hypercrypt, where you could actually then warp the unit that comes out of it to the monolith, assuming you had a Royal Warden to unbattle shock it. But again, that happens at the start of the phase, so it'd have to be in the fight phase. So it probably doesn't even synergize very well there either.
Yeah, it's just yeah. I mean, in ninth edition, it used to be a really cool tactic where you'd bring it in, and then there was a stratagem to drop something. It didn't hold unit. Oh, it did. Sorry, it held 20 something models, but it had an ability as a stratagem where you could pick one of your units in reserves and then just drop it out, and then
Yeah,
that unit could charge. And obviously, there was no restrictions back then of getting out of a transport out of reserves, whereas now you have to be 9 inches away still.
yeah,
Even for the unit disembarking, but before you could get like a nice, I think it was a 6 inch charge because you had to be wholly within three. Um, so it was quite cool how you could do like a pseudo one of those. So something similar would be nice. Maybe not in the form of a stratagem, but like being able to just drop out like that. But you still have to be a certain amount of distance away, like 6 inches.
no, it was just within 3 of the night size, so you could have a 2-inch charge
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like to stop
in
that,
this.
to stop. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, for us, well, we like our new rule. I'm saying that.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and you not don't allow that, like them to be able to charge 2 inches, because that would be
yeah,
really, really good.
we,
Like,
we,
just a guaranteed charge with no counterplay isn't
well, there
going to
is counterplay because it's an aircraft that can just get shot off the
You're gonna get
cable.
you're gonna rapid ingress in your home and just be like, right, you can't see it in my
Yeah,
home.
I mean, we know from Grey Knights that a 6 inch guaranteed charge is fine, and I believe Drago can't do that, so he can't get a 3 inch. So if you could do a 6 inch, but the problem you've got is,
What do you mean the 3 inch?
well, he gets +3 once per battle, doesn't he? But I don't think he can use the
Oh
six
yeah,
inch
you can't 6 inch
because
him.
he's a Terminator, right? But the problem you've got is if they have to be 6 inches away, that's a big gap to try and
Hmm.
fit them in, and I don't think that would actually come up too often. It would be quite hard. You'd have to position really well, and later on in the game, it would be a bit easier when
Yeah, it
the
just gives you a
units are up.
6 inch deep strike charge, or
But it still costs you a CP. It still costs you 145 points for the
I don't
model.
know if it would be a CP. I
But
just
for
mean it's
rapid
part of
ingress,
the. Oh well, yeah.
you'd have to CP for rapid ingress, then it's 145 points for the
But you could
transport.
just bring it in, and then they could come in 6 inches away because it deep strikes 9, and then they come in 6 inches away. Because I'm saying it's like
Mm,
a datasheet ability. Like units that get out of this model can come like more than 6 inches away from enemy models and charge.
when it enters the battlefield.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Because it's like dropping the guys straight into the fight. That's kind of like the idea.
Yeah,
Because it has the beam, right? So it's like beams them straight in. And obviously, this kind of invasion beam is more like a excavation beam rather than an
yeah,
invasion beam. It's like a pull out of
yeah,
dodge. Like it's a get out of jail free card rather than a fucking
yeah.
actually go fight anything. So that was my only thought.
No, I prefer yours because it having just another durable unit is what we already have. So having a unit which can give you a nice, bleh, a nice trick to play in the early game
A
to
nice
kill.
niche night sight.
Shut up, man. So someone that can actually do some damage early on and maybe snipe a key unit here or there, because it's not always necessarily going to have Scorpex. It might have immortals or a
Or we could
warrior
try and do
block.
like a bomb run, but I don't think they bomb. Maybe
Well,
like
we
a
no, we
Doomsday.
used to have the Night Shroud, which was like a bomber, which is a
Yes,
Forge
yeah,
World, and they
that's
got rid of that, and that was just awful. Like, it was overcosted. It had the same weapons as the Night Scythe, but it did like one lot of mortal wounds. So yeah, no one ever took it.
yeah. It's just crazy that like some flyers exist in other detachments. I'm looking at that Void Raven bomber,
Hmm.
like that exists, and then other stuff like doesn't exist in other books.
Yeah, I mean they are kind of bad when it comes to interacting with them, so I can understand Games Workshop are wanting to have
Yeah,
too many available, but this isn't a shooting platform like majority of them. This is something that's
if
going
they
to give
didn't
you.
want uninteractive stuff, they shouldn't have made it indirect.
This is
Okay.
kind of our version of a drop pod in a way, but it can
Yeah.
also move as well.
Drop pods. Let's fix a drop pod. Give that assault ramp for God's
A skeleton
sake.
ramp and a 20 plus move. Yeah. Nah, I mean,
Give a
it,
drop pod some fucking love.
it, the thing is, it's one of those units where if people had started playing with it right at the start of the edition and stuck with it, and everyone was used to playing with it, it would probably have been nerfed a few times because people are so good with them. But because no one actually tries them, it's one of those where positionally they need to be perfect because you get seen, you get killed, and then you have to have the right units in there at the right time to deal with the right thing. So it takes a lot of practice, I think, to be good at them. So maybe that's just the reason it doesn't get played. But
Hmm.
I do like your idea of being able to charge out of it early on, which means it doesn't just have to contain a squad of immortals or warriors um,
Yeah,
to do
something
anything,
like
and then it can actually get into the fray and then protect your unit, and then right.
that. All right, now that we've done that one, we've got three left.
We've got three left. Shall we do? Have we got three left? Yes, we do. Shall we do the obelisk next then? Because this is one of those where we put this in S
So you
tier.
might be wondering why there's another S tier,
Yeah, I mean,
even though it's not
okay,
S
it,
tier,
it
but
might have
it's
been a bit of a joke, but I still
yeah.
think that that ability is really strong, and 300 points for the kind of stats that you get at the top aren't too bad. Big OC, lots of wounds, two up save, toughness 13 is tough to deal with. right?
I think you put it down to toughness 12 and give it a feel nip, a 6 up feel nip pain. As weird as that
Well, if you're going to
sounds.
put it down to toughness 12, you give it a 4 up pinball because it's the Tesseract vault, right? And it's that stat. So I would rather it was toughness 12 with a 4 up pinball because it's the same kit. Um,
Yeah,
that
I
would
don't
make
understand
it.
why, like, what the difference is there. Is it
Uh,
because the Catan's giving it the invuln?
no, because the Catan's inside of like a little weird force fieldy
Yeah, but
thing.
they can use the abilities of the Catan, so they're like, must be.
Yeah, okay, but why can't the Catan be inside? Why can't it be inside the obelisk? I don't know. Like,
I don't know how an obelisk works in the law. Maybe we
um,
need to
but
read up.
so it clearly hates flyers. So if it's going to be played, I think it needs to be buffed slightly more against flyers. For example, if the Tesla was just anti-fly 2+, because when you see things that really hate the things they hate, like the epic hero from the new Eldari book, which is anti-epic hero 2+. I never thought I'd
Yeah,
see that.
the Visage
Yeah, and you've got anti infantry two
with
plus on the Death
Livrain,
Guard.
who also gives fights first. He does
Yeah.
fights first.
So if the Teslas were anti-fly 2+, and if a versus fly like +1 AP ignores cover, that would be pretty strong.
Yeah,
And then you have a valid reason to take it because it actually starts dealing with a lot of
imagine
flyers.
3 of these in the fucking Catan Wraith meta. Oh,
And then like the
slows them
ability,
down.
make it go off on a 2 up if it's against a fly unit instead of a 4 up for the mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Like give it a buff against things that fly because it clearly is there to deal with flyers. Um, and make it maybe like not line of sight lock for flyers as well. Like it can just sense them out there.
It is very tall.
It's tall, and then yeah, I mean I think that would probably do it.
Or like
Having
whatever you shoot, you can choose one of the things you shoot, and then that would extend the range a bit.
what do you mean?
Like instead of you picking something at the start of your opponent's move phase, you could change it to like one thing you shoot in your shooting phase.
I don't know about that because I kind of want to kill the things I shoot,
Yeah,
which
but
is why I hate the Doom Scythe
it's not
ability.
killing much, is it? Let's be honest. With what it's got, it's not killing
Yeah, but if it
much.
was anti-fly 2+, and
It's still not
AP1
killing
ignores
much.
cover against fly,
Yeah, but it
then
wouldn't be. Yeah, I
then
mean,
it would start killing things. Or give it +1 to hit against things that fly, so it hits on a 2.
yeah,
and
but
just,
whatever you're going to pick at the start of your opponent's move phase, okay, well, pick something in your turn then.
I mean, the
But
point
no, I feel
is,
like picking something you've shot is better.
if you're playing against a flyer that's like melee-based flyer, for example, you don't need to shoot it because by pointing the ability at it is kind of taking it out of the game for a turn. So you don't need to shoot it because it doesn't. It's not going to do anything to you. So you don't need to worry about it. You can shoot
Mm.
other things which will go off and do things to you. If it's obviously a shooting platform that flies, I mean, it doesn't. Obviously, when we're picking the ability, it isn't even. It's not locked to things that fly. It just does mortal wounds if they do fly.
Yeah, should probably just do more to stuff that does fly.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, make it actually like a little bit threatening into things that fly, and that ability would shine because, or I mean, just give it a 4 pinball for God's sake. Like that'll solve the problem, and then he can take it in other detachments without having to be in hypercrypt to get the invul, because it's still tough and it doesn't do a lot. But we've got a lot of these tough, don't do a lot of units, but we struggle for OC, and OC8 is pretty sweet. I like it.
Hmm.
I just think it's on the cusp. If I had one, I would play one, but I don't have one, and I'm not building one.
Alright,
So,
let's jump to this one. Try out Praetorians.
okay.
So what are your initial thoughts on this unit after running it at Manchester?
So my initial thoughts is no matter what else we decide, it needs movement 12, and its ability needs to be fall back, shoot, and charge. Just those two little changes won't be enough to make them really good, but I think they should have those. that should be the case anyway, because if you look at like JPIs or Vanguard vets, they move 12 inches. And
Mhm.
then you've got like the Inceptors, which are Gravis armor, so they only move 10, which makes sense. Whereas our guys are not Gravis, they're just like, they don't really have much armor. So I think they should be able to move 12. And that extra 2 inches of movement will make a massive difference for us. Just like the movement from 8 to 10 from the Scorpec destroyers makes a big difference. Like on UKTC, especially on Search and Destroy, from your kind of backfield L to threaten their flank objective, that extra 2 inches means that the charge is actually viable. But the biggest problem I have with them is they don't do enough damage. Their ability to fall back and charge relies on them surviving being in melee for a turn, but they're not defensive enough to survive that. And then usually, if they do survive, it's only with a couple of models, but their leadership's so low, the odds are is you're going to fail your battle shock anyway. At which point you don't want to fall back, even if you can charge, because you're probably just going to lose some of your models.
Yeah, I
So,
think they should advance and charge, personally.
so I think offensively, if they were going to get a buff, like the rod would get twin linked, for example, and then the Void Blade would just get an extra attack. So you'd have 5 attacks at 5-2-1. That's okay into guard and stuff. But then the Rod is there to try and take out slightly tougher targets. So I think Twin Link would be nice on that one. And that would be probably enough of an offensive buff to make them actually be able to trade with things of similar points value, like 5-man Marine squads, because at the moment they don't kill 5 intercessors. But 5 intercessors have got enough melee damage to actually really hurt them, even though you've got a 3-up save.
Mhm.
And defensively, though, is the big one for me. I'd rather have them have a defensive buff where they can charge and then not die in combat, so their ability to fall back and recharge is actually good. And I think something like -1 damage would be pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, and let's give something in the fucking codex grenades. These guys can have grenades.
I don't know, like it would be nice, but
There are
yeah.
JPIs. Give them grenades.
You
I
know,
think
if
20 points a model is too expensive still.
yeah, I mean at 90 points they might be too cheap, but that's the problem.
95 then. Perfect balance.
Everything has to be in fives, right? But
Yeah.
I mean,
90, yeah, 97.
Rapid Ingress for free is cute, but they're not like Venatari, where the Venatari come down and they just fuck shit up because they've got 5 attacks each with crit fives and lance. You know, they kill shit. Whereas these guys, they don't.
Yeah, these are like our Venatari JPI
Yeah,
replacements.
I I played these into like Tyranids and tanks, and what you ideally want from these guys is to charge into the big bug, stop it from being able to move to get line of sight to shoot, and then on your turn you can fall back, shoot it with your DDA, and then recharge if you don't kill it. But unfortunately, these big bugs are all like strength 8, damage 2 melee, so they just kill 2 or 3 guys. At which point you're like, well, crap, I don't really want to do that every turn because they're just going to die and they don't kill them because they're winning on sixes.
Hmm.
So there's just
Yeah.
something internally wrong with
Maybe
these
give
guys.
the lances the rods lance.
Yeah, that would work as well.
It is a
Actually,
rod. It is a
it
lance
is
type of thing.
a rod. Yeah,
It is the rod, the Millennium Rod.
like if you just give them an extra attack, that might be too much.
Yeah, I think just give him lance. Fucking.
Lance would work, and then some kind of defensive buff so they survive in combat a little better. So that their ability is
Mindful to be hit in combat because they're like good in combat. They're like the
yeah,
King's Guard, right? So they'd be good with
yeah,
their weapons,
yeah, that would work.
something like
Um,
that. I think that's about it. That's all I can think of to talk about with them.
Yeah, I mean they're really on the cusp of being playable. I'm going to stick with
Mm.
them a little bit because I think there is a place for them as just strict upgrades to death marks in terms of what you get for 35 points. But Yeah, they just fell a little bit short for me in my 5 games at Manchester.
All right, this is the main man.
This is the
Uh,
this
this
is
is the
the
guy that we know that needs the first improvement
hang
in
on.
the book.
Before we say, do we think that people can guess at this point, or is it obvious?
Pause your fucking screens,
Yeah,
everyone. Pause your videos and try and guess what this fucking fool is and why we've put him at the. These weren't in particular order, but this is the number one spot for
this
needing
is
the most improvement in this book.
the most disappointing
Data sheet,
ever.
just the obelisk ain't got shit on this. So
Yeah, the obelisk can see play. The obelisk might get
yeah,
built, but this
this guy
guy
can
won't
see in my
even.
fucking boot.
Won't even. He's not even a.
I was
Like
talking
a
to somebody before, James Reed, I think it was, in the Team England Discord with Danny Everson. They were both playing a game, and we were talking about this guy. And I was like, "Mate, I wouldn't even take him if he was a freebie. I was like, if it was just auto included in every list, but you had to use his ability, like when it goes off." I was like, I wouldn't even take it.
well, yeah. That's the thing is his ability is so bad that even I've been getting it wrong. I've actually been getting his ability wrong, and I've still been thinking it's awful. But when I actually read it, I was like, this is even worse than I possibly could imagine.
And
Um,
it is drum roll, please.
it is
Hey.
praising the untakeable.
Yeah, Travis on the infinitely shit. Like,
So I've never played him, I've never fully looked at his datasheet ability. I assumed it was the same as in ninth, where when he dies, he can morph into the, he can take over the control of another character and replace them. Okay, but it turns out that you have to do it in your command phase while the other model is still alive, which means that you also end up with a unit that he started in without a leader, and you've killed the leader, which is arguably doing something considerably better for the unit.
yeah, be careful, guys. Don't look at his 75-point price tag and think that it's good because it's actually 75 points plus a minimum of whatever character he takes over, which has a
Yeah,
better datasheet rule than him.
and it can't even take over epic hero models either. So Orican,
Yeah, no, you can't
Imhotep.
just take over Catan. It's fucking. Oh no, it's infantry.
No, it's
Fuck.
infantry
I was
characters.
like, he just turns into a Catan. It's like,
Whereas, so
yeah.
to start off with, his ability needs to be back in ninth when he dies. When he dies, you can then pick an infantry character and go, I would rather have this model leading my unit than the current model that it happens
If
to
you
be.
for some reason need to put sticky on a certain objective, there you go.
But
That's
you
your
know,
like
I've got this beautiful squad of wraiths with a 5 feel no pain, but now I'm going to put Trazen in there, so I'm going to lose my feel no pain and not
yeah.
and not
Oh,
get
this unit this unit had Veil of Darkness and could auto advance 6. Actually, I think I'll give it sticky.
yes.
Well,
Okay,
don't worry,
so
guys. He's really good in combat. His
sustain against Team
empathic
Three.
obliterator. What?
Yes.
Who has a better sounding
Well,
name
he
of a
cares.
fucking
He
weapon than
clearly
that?
cares about the people he's trying to kill,
If
which is
you've watched
why.
Infinite and Divine or read Infinite and Divine, you would know how OP this weapon is. This weapon can literally tear through reality and injure. I'm not going to spoil the book, but it can injure nearly anything that it touches and interacts with, and it's just like yeah, AP0 actually.
Yeah, AP0.
What
Yeah,
the fuck?
and no other keywords.
A wraith's claw is sharper than the empathic obliterator. Ugh, God.
Okay, so obviously he needs a lot of work. So
He should
like
be strength. He should be. He's an overlord. He should be strength 10 at least.
he's a named overlord, but then even Imhotep's a named overlord who's strength 6. He's
Okay,
actually
well, that's
weaker
a.
than the other overlords.
What is
So
the. What is the fucking. What are they doing? It's because they're all
right,
so old.
so it's going to need a big buff, right?
So what we're gonna do to
Well,
change
first
it?
he needs to give his squad something good, right? Because otherwise, what is the point? Sticky is not good enough, especially in a world where every army in their codex somewhere has an ability to uppy downy. Um, you know, so I think fights first is a nice ability to give because we don't have that anywhere else in the codex.
Yeah, it's got to fit with his lore, I think, because we still want to keep it on brand. Like Zandrek was good to give fights first
It wasn't
because
Sandra that gave fights first; it was Oberyn.
sorry over him because he's like a bodyguard. He's combat trained. That's the whole point. He collects trinkets. Maybe there's like artifacts that he has that buffs his unit. And there's a selection of X amount, and he can pick one per turn, once per game, 5 turns in a row, and it gives the unit a special ability depending on what he picks. So, like this particular turn, his unit gains +1 OC. This particular turn, he gives the unit sustained. This particular turn, he gives it fights first because
That
he's
might
like
be
using different like artifacts that he's collected through different races. So
okay.
we can pick from any book, any book that's got like a kind of artifact. Phoenix gem. He's got his own Phoenix gem. He can come back to life.
Well, he's infinite, right? So he should always be able to come back to life, no matter how many times he dies
Well,
during the
yes,
game.
but it was just an example
Yeah, yeah.
of something that he's collected, and in the book, which again you can pick a lot of stuff from the book. He has a lot of items
Okay,
in the book that he uses randomly, like random Xenos creatures that he just like has access to, stuff like that. Just things that
okay,
you can just like
that would be
put in
strong.
there. Yeah, I think
I
it'd be
also
pretty cool.
think the one other thing that he does need to do is when he morphs into or replaces an infantry character, that he should have like an aura of mortal wounds, similar to Imhotep Storm. Like on a 3 up, it's D3 for everything within six, and in that way,
Or
there's
just in no, actually, yeah,
there's like a 50-50. Like, do I want to kill this guy because then he'll just bugger off and go into this squad over there, and then do some mortal wounds in the middle of my army?
yeah. Or like every time he dies, you take a leadership check, and then he just replaces one of your normal models. Because again, in the book, and I'm going to be referencing this a lot, he literally spawns into anything. It doesn't have to just be a character.
Hmm.
You could just replace one. I mean, this is maybe it's only once per game, or maybe because then you could just have an infinite cycle of just him never ever dying.
Well, it can't be normal models, right? Because you can't say, right, I'm going to replace this one immortal, and
That's what I
then
mean.
I've got a squad with an overlord and a cryptek, and then it's
No,
now
his
nine
own
immortals.
squad, his own squad.
But usually he's going to
Or
die
maybe
after
there's like a
one.
thing where like, he can't join a squad where there's already an overlord model in the squad because then ranking. But it's not just so it's when he dies, he can replace any model anywhere.
Any infantry model, yeah, because at
Yeah,
the moment he can join Wraith instead of a Technomancer, which is just a bit nonsensical.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't do anything.
No, I know he doesn't, but at some point he needs to start doing something.
But then
And
that's what I mean. Then he's like got buffs that
but
he
he's the
gives his
infinite,
unit.
right? So it's not infinite if it's just once. It trays under once.
Okay, no, he can do it as many times as he wants. I was just thinking that he could do it a lot, but then it would be broken because you could just res your
Okay,
models.
so maybe each time it happens, you have to roll a d6. The first time it happens, it's on a 2 up, but then for it to happen again, it has to be a 3 up, and then a 4 up.
Yeah,
So it gets harder for
or a
each time
leadership,
to do it.
because which is
Um,
why I was saying it's a leadership.
yeah, yeah, maybe. And then maybe his mortals become more devastating the more times he does it as well, for
Because it's
example.
more dangerous. Because he does
Because,
have to like use
yeah, a lot of energy and channel.
energy. Yeah,
Um,
so it like ramps the more he dies.
Because you have to remember, we're keeping this guy alive, like at the expense of one of our other characters, which could be anything from like 50, 60 points to
He
100
just
points.
has to give his unit something more than AP0 and sticky. Like there's
AP.
no other character in the book that is better. There's worse than him. Sorry,
Mhm.
like that I would rather have. I would rather have maybe the Psychomancer.
No,
but
I'd
like,
rather have a Psychomancer
well,
than
I
this guy.
sometimes sticky is quite valuable, but it's more valuable than a Psychomancer can be.
Mm.
But
But Sticky's only good if your unit dies.
yeah,
And then
or
because
if he just had sticky without having to lead, I think would be all right because then you can just sit him on the back and just sticky and in Hypercrypt he's like a 25 mil base that just gets in everywhere. Or he should just be able to get back up. To be honest, maybe he just gets back up.
Every
Like,
single time he dies, just infinitely gets back up.
well, again, on a leadership check, and then as soon as he fails it, then he doesn't get back up again.
Yeah, but then even then, leadership chess can be manipulated because a 6 up isn't that consistent.
Well, yeah, that's that. Then that's unfortunate. Then it's like actually, but he will be strong, make him really really strong.
Oh,
But like a lone op, he maybe it's like Lucius where he gets stronger if he's alone. If he's by himself, he can be a lone op. He gets stronger if he's by himself. But I know Necrons don't really work off the
no.
basis of lone op, be like solo characters. It's about having units together.
I would rather he was 140 points, right? And actually the best character that we had that can join a unit.
Yeah,
Because then you
he's got like
actively want to take other characters to keep this guy alive when he
he's got
dies.
infinite, like pun intended. Uh, he's got infinite possibilities of what he can bring to the table because of all the artifacts he's got from every single race. Like there's a million races that he's collected stuff from, and he's got loads and loads of Necron. And maybe he could have the Vect because he's got kind of like his cloak he's got is
Hmm.
good at detecting
Yeah.
um like warp shit. So he could have like a Vect, or he could have an Omni Scrambler.
Okay, so he
Like
could have the 12-inch deep strike denial, Evect, the Gilliman free strap per turn aura,
yeah, how much more?
yeah,
Fucking
as well as something for his squad.
there's just so many rules that they could give this guy that like fits on brand to his character, but that like GW are so locked in with him just coming back to life, replacing other characters. They're like, this is the only thing he does. This is it. This is
Yeah,
all he's ever known for. It's like,
but you gotta have a reason for that.
yeah,
There is
yeah,
no
yeah,
reason.
yeah. They just keep making his rules shit every time. It's like Lucius, right? For every edition I can even think of, he's literally been able to come back to life in some way or another. And then the last one was just like, oh, he just fucking blows up. Like he doesn't come back to life; he just fucking blows up. Like this edition, it's like, yeah, he's just gonna blow up because it's sort of on brand. No, it's fucking terrible. He's literally a swordsman, a master swordsman. That's what you should be basing it around off, not just this one niche thing that he's known for.
But we know from experience playing Awakened Dynasty how strong it is for characters to get back up.
Yeah, and let's get
So
Drazen back up.
if he was going to be really good, he would also need to be relatively expensive. But I'd be happy to do
Yeah,
that if
make
he
him.
was if I ever looked at a character that was infantry on the board and went, I would rather have you than Trazen, then he's not his rules are wrong.
Yeah,
I
if
would
trade
always want to
like
keep him
if
alive.
you can do shenanigans where if he's got a Vect, for example, or a free strat, but he's out of range of what you need to Vect or free strat, then you just fucking bop him over.
No, I mean, I still think his ability should pro when he dies rather than when you choose in your command phase because
Yeah,
I when he dies, the odds are he's going to have his bodyguard unit dead as well. Whereas you don't just want to leave the bodyguard unit by itself and have him piss off into a different one. Um,
no, I
so
agree. Yeah.
so yeah, we need some big help for this guy. I mean, the only way I think I could take him is if he costs 25 points, and I just take him with Immortals to give him minus
Oh,
plus
also
one.
the freebie. I don't even fucking like. Yeah, it's just so. And the model looks shit. GW. Why did you leave him as the only model that didn't get a fresh one?
I haven't seen. Well, why? Because no one's ever going to play him. So why would they ever buy him?
Yeah, well, make the rules good then to sell the model.
Well, they
They
don't,
made an
that's not
Orican
what
model, and they made an
that's not
Orican
what
model,
Games
and
Workshop do.
nobody was playing it until like recently. They
Nobody.
made they was the same, but nobody played him.
They don't do that where they make models good with good data sheets and good rules and cheap to sell them. That's not how they operate, mate. You should know that by now.
Yeah, why would they?
Why would they? It's just
Trazan looks like a fucking loser.
I don't even know what he looks like. To be fair,
He's just like hunched over, like claw hand. I'm trying to see claw hand with his staff, and he's just like this.
mm,
He's like bunched up
no,
together.
like an
and
old man. Well, he's
yeah,
infinitely old,
he
I
is an
guess.
old man. He's very old.
Yeah,
He's one of the oldest, but he's tiny.
he is.
He's on a 25 mil base, and it just looks shocking.
Okay.
But well, that's rant over. Is all
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like rant over.
I mean,
Just listened to us rant
are
about.
there any other armies in the game with as bad a named character as we have in Trazen? I cannot think of one named
I think
character
he is the worst
that
named
is,
character.
and he didn't even make Art of War worse data sheets. Although I think he made.
He
Oh,
did. He did. He was the
did he?
first one. He was
Oh,
the honourable mention.
okay.
He was the first honourable mention, and shout out to them. They're the ones that highlighted to me that he was AP0. I hadn't even looked at his attacks because I wasn't even going to consider this guy.
You were
And then
going
I
to
was
say,
like, they actually have the gall to put him AP. They're the ones that pointed out that the name is Empathic Obliterator, and it's AP0 with D3 damage. D3 damage. Get that shit out of the game. D3
uh,
damage.
yeah, it's one of those data sheets where it just fills out.
Yeah, there's nothing
Blow.
I can't even clock something that's worse.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
the Grey Knights have some pretty terrible characters, but like at least their worst character gives the whole squad -1 to be hit all the time, which is like the Chronomancer buff.
maybe Death Guard have a couple of guys that are really bad, but again, they probably
Something plague, something
yeah, they
malignance.
definitely get played more than Trajan. Like I don't think I've ever seen him on the tabletop apart from one
I
once. I think I've
tried.
seen.
I've seen people try him. Like we saw a couple of lists where people try him, and I'm just like, you're just actively making your list worse.
Like everyone was. I think it was when Hyper came out. People were like, "Oh, we can put him in Hypercrit," and then we. So wait, hang on a second. So I've got to leave him on my command phase to sticky. So he doesn't do anything that turn, and then at the end of your turn, I can pick him up, and then he comes down, but then he doesn't make anything sticky. So then he has to sit on the objective the following turn to make it sticky. So realistically, he's doing nothing for 5 turns apart from making 2 objectives sticky.
That's it. That's the plan.
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to bother taking that because it doesn't do anything. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's some
Um,
terrible stuff.
and also, when does sticky actually occur? Is it the end of the phase or at the
End of the
start?
command
Right.
phase.
So,
So you can swap over
yes, I
and
know,
stick
but
it.
then your home objective, and you go, oh, right, I want to sticky a different objective this for next turn. Well, it doesn't sticky your home objective in the first turn. So he has to sit there for an entire turn.
He just stick it in the first turn.
No, because it's at the start of your command phase.
No, you sticky at the end of your command phase.
Yes, but he has to jump at the start of your command phase.
Oh yeah, well you have to sit in your home to sticky it,
So
and
he
then the
doesn't do
next turn
anything.
you can jump somewhere else and
But
sticky it
they
out.
also have to be on an objective and controlling it. If you have
Yeah,
like OC 20, then okay, you just stick a unit on there. They try and deny. You go, all right, well I'll ship him over and take over my Plasmancer. Now it's my point. I'll score primary.
I'm just
You
gonna
can't
take
be a
him.
Plasmancer.
I'm gonna take him in my next awaken list with 20 warriors and be like, yeah, this whole unit has sticky by the way. Fear me.
It's just
Yeah, and then I'm
actually
yeah. That's
OC
it.
20 would be actually a good fix. I think. Don't you?
Him exclusively.
Yeah, exclusively OC 20 because then you have a reason in your command phase for killing one of your other characters.
Give him grenades.
Give him grenades.
He'll have a
And then
grenade. Give
everyone
him
will take him
Pokeball.
just because you can throw a grenade for 1 CP.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that that's even good enough. Like,
Yeah.
mm,
I
yeah.
don't even
Well,
know what else
if,
I'd do.
if anyone has any ideas of how they could improve
Yeah.
these 7 terrible data sheets, please let
Thank
us
you. And
know.
any more data sheets you think need working.
Yeah, and
And yeah, thanks for listening to me tiredly ramble. I can tell how tired I am because I'm getting frustrated over a fictional character in a fucking game. So yeah, thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure as always.
yes,
And we're gonna call it there because I'm fucking knackered.
fair play. Right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for listening. Bye. Oh, and next time we're gonna do a build a list Annihilation Legion for Andy to take to an RTT.
Can't wait for that one.
I've already cooked up something, so we'll have to.
Ooh,
Yeah.
spicy.
All
Right.
right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.